Hey everybody, going to get started here, and we're going to talk about children's health tonight with immunity and childhood nutrition from toddlers to school-age children. And let me share the screen and get full screen here and plan from the start. So kids health. Nutritional information that can support adult health as well as your child's current and future health. So our focus area tonight is toddler and school age nutrition, school age children, and just some rules of health that I kind of like to follow here, which are one, know your source, two, quality, organic, non-GMO, grass-fed, wild caught, etc. Kind of know the rules there. Knowing how to read food labels as well to support overall health. Typically, the less ingredients, the better. And if you want to know any more about discussing food labels, feel free to reach out to me as well too. Four is seek professionals, specifically with nutrition, exercise. Talking to anybody that's going to have more information than you might is always beneficial. Professionals, even seeking other professionals, is beneficial as well too. And five, taking that whole person holistic approach, that whole person movement, exercise, which is going to be sleep, stress management, emotional health, and nutrition as well. That's a whole person approach to support you, your children as well. And always know that no matter what, it is always your choice in everything. And then moving on. So since it is fall, kids go back to school and everything, I thought it'd be nice to touch on immunity as well. Some things to decrease immunity in your children's health. Sugar and everything containing it, sweets, soft drinks, confectionery, ice cream, etc. Sugar, things like that is definitely detrimental to your overall health. I apologize for the pitter patter in the background. That's Swarley dancing around. Processed carbohydrates, cakes, biscuits, snacks, breakfast cereals, white breads, white pasta, refined processed carbohydrates. Those things cause inflammation in the body, cause your body to work harder. And sugar and those processed carbohydrates, your body doesn't really know what to do with those since it is processed and refined. And we do know that that white sugar has the same impact on the brain as actually cocaine does. So avoiding that and decreasing that as much as possible is beneficial for immunity. Some other things that decrease immunity: chemically altered and artificial fats, margarines, butter replacements, cooking vegetable oils, processed foods prepared with these fats, hydrated oils, trans fats, things that you're going to find in fast food, processed food. Those things your body doesn't recognize as actual food and doesn't know what to do with it. It can be stored into your fat cells and then released can be very damaging to the immune system and cause an inflammatory impact, which can lead to your immune system creating antibodies to kind of defend it, which is leaving you open to have more risk of infection. Lack of high quality proteins in the diets, whether that is meats or vegetarian proteins as well. Exposure to man-made chemicals, cleaning and washing chemicals, personal care products, paint, fire retardants, petrochemicals, pesticides, etc. These man-made chemicals can lead to, in women, unfortunately, xenoestrogens, which mimic estrogen in the body, which can lead to increased and active immune system as well. And then if we get really specific, those xenoestrogens, if this is your cell has receptor sites, and those xenoestrogens that come from those chemicals will attach to your cell, which can lead to your thyroid gland not operating correctly, as that can alter how your body sees what estrogen is being produced, progesterone being introduced, and gets a little confusing for what the body wants to do in terms of producing those hormones. So it gets confused. And when we do have an excess of those xenoestrogens, a lot of different things can impact your health. Just continuing on decreased immunity, exposure to man-made radiation, electronic screens, computers, mobile phones, high-power electricity lines, nuclear stations, and wastes, reducing that screen time, reducing that blue light, because that can impact your pituitary gland, which impacts how your hormones function, which can actually impact your sleep as well too, and your ability to have a proper immune system. Drugs, antibiotics, steroids, antidepressants, painkillers, anti-cancer medications, antiviral drugs. These things can impact your microbiome as well as impact how your cells function. Lack of fresh air and physical activity. That lack of fresh air in your house, you can actually have poor air quality. Having a good air filter, changing your air filters, getting outside, breathing in that fresh air. Physical activity. I kind of look at your body as water, as we are mostly water. Being in looking at your body as moving water, going to the mountains, seeing a stream, seeing a river, that's clean water, clean sources. That's how you want to keep everything moving and flowing, not sedentary. Lack of exposure to sunlight. I know the last couple of years, there's kind of been a campaign to say, hey, let's not get out in the sun because the sun is dangerous. Sun can be dangerous. If you do just kind of look up in the sky, you'll see some planes spraying some stuff. Those are chemtrails, and they are trying to block out a little bit of our sunlight. And sometimes when the sun reflects there on those things, it can not be good for us to actually breathe in. So, as we are trying to get outside too, breathing in those chemicals can be dangerous, but also it impacts our sunlight. It doesn't allow the proper rays to come in that our body uses. Making sure you are getting outside on a nice clear day. Lack of exposure to common microbes in the environments. Living in a too sterilized environment is strongly associated with compromised immunity. The immune system needs constant stimulation from the microbes in the environment. Excuse me, just going to get somebody in here. And we'll pick up. Enjoy. Hey, if you can hear me, just going to continue on with the presentation. We are recording too, just so you know. Hey, thanks for joining. Can't hear you, muted.
Are you okay if I talk or?
Yeah, I started recording. I'm just gonna keep going on here if that's cool.
I'll be here and just listen.
Cool, perfect. So talking about decreased immunity, and was just talking about that last one there with sterilized environment, too much cleaning with those household chemicals talked about before. The immune system needs that constant stimulation from microbes in the environment, whether that's getting your hands in the dirt, letting kids play outside, interacting with each other. Those things can decrease our immunity by having that sterilized environment, not that contact. Let's go on here. Oops. Increased immunity. Increased immunity. And again, everything's based on individuality. Fresh animal fats, cholesterol-rich foods, particularly eggs, can support immunity. Cold-pressed oils such as olive oils, fish, onions and garlic, when eaten together, they are natural antibiotic. Regular consumption of greens, herbs too, as we can tend to look over herbs. They can be very powerful with antifungal, antiviral, antibacterial, parsley, dill, coriander, that other one, cilantro, can be very powerful as well too. Probiotic-rich foods and fermented foods. And the next one, contact with animals. Barring you don't have an allergy, being in contact with horses, dogs, having a pet in the family can do a lot for your children's immune system as well too. Swimming in unpolluted natural waters, not pools, the chlorine pools, but lakes, rivers, and seas is beneficial too. That exposure to those microbes as well. Physical activity in the fresh air, which is really important, keeping that body moving. Because since we are water, like I said before, keeping the body moving keeps things moving, keeps the drainage open, keeps your body's ability to detox. It's fantastic, and it's also great for your heart health as well, your brain health. So those are other benefits as well too. Exposure to sunlight and sensible sunbathing can increase immunity as well too. So that's a little bit on increasing immunity for kids and decreasing as well too, as we got to the first part. So next part, what I really want to focus on for the rest of the presentation is a little bit of nutrition. for children as well. And I'm going to reference some of the books that I've read, some of the schooling that I've had to at the very end, so you know where some of the come from. So, got somebody else joining. Awesome. Hey, Amy, thanks for joining.
Hey, Jim.
Hey. Just doing a presentation right now in the middle of recording. Talk a little about decreased immunity, increasing children's immunity, and now going to get into just a little bit of nutrition for children as well. And we are focused on toddlers to school-age children, specifically tonight. So just based on everything is kind of based on individual and lifestyle, you know, whether, you know, you're vegan, vegetarian, pescatarian, follow Mediterranean style, you do eat meat. So that's kind of what I've kind of based everything off of. Always consult with a professional when you can. You know, they'll have some other insight for you as well. The quality, organic, non-GMO, grass-fed, quality definitely matters. And just having that balanced diet is important too. So let's kind of dive into that a little bit. If you guys do have any questions, feel free to jump in, don't mind. So nutrition for a toddler, just some things to be aware of and maintain. You know, by age 2, toddlers can share most family foods, but caution be taken bite size to avoid choking hazards. Softer foods given in small cut up bites for self-feeding. Something that I've had experience with working with adults who've had kids, making food, making it fun with shapes, patterns, letting them play like that role in their food. And we'll get into a little bit of that more later. And that kind of helps with the picky and fussiness as well. Encouraging self-feeding to develop fine motor skills and exploration. Something that, as we do get older, has kind of been taken away from us. As you know, I was a former teacher, and you know, the penmanship and writing, things actually using our hands to do things has been taken away from us a little bit. So that like typing has kind of taken away from our fine and gross motor skills. So that's important too to help develop that. Giving them that child size fork and spoon, show them how to use it, allow them to develop that feeding skills too, and just making them feel comfortable. Allowing eating skills to develop naturally, eating with foods with their hands, squishing, mashing, even though it can be messy. Playing with food is completely normal part of development. And focusing or forcing food or bribing at meal times can create those unhealthy relationship with food and unnecessary stress for parents. Part of my background too is developing healthy relationships with food, and using food as like motivation can be, like I said, it's unnecessary stress and can create those unhealthy eating habits. And then providing the child with a variety of nutritious foods and allow them to choose which ones and how much to eat. Some things that I've also seen success with other parents is actually taking them, not toddlers, but taking them food shopping, which has helped too, and let them pick and decide what they want to eat to support, you know, their own nutrition with a little bit of guidance. So just a little bit of chart, recommended daily amount of each food group for ages 1 to 3. This is based on the sedentary lifestyle. Activity always big portion of, you know, how you interact with food. It's there for you guys to look at, based on the 1,000 calorie, 1,400 calorie, your fruits, your veggies, grains, meats, legumes. This is recorded, so you'll have access to this, or feel free to snap a picture of this as well. Anybody have any questions yet? Yeah. Cool. So overview of nutrition for children for protein. And again, everybody individual is different based on their needs. Typically 2 to 3, 13 grams, 4 to 8, 19, 9 to 13, 34, 14 to 18-year-olds for girls, 46 grams, and boys, 52 grams for that 14 to 18. Proteins as growing up should try to be included in every meal. Obviously quality again matters. Fish and eggs are great sources. Vegetable sources include bean, lentils, quinoa, tofu are great sources of protein. And then for fatty acid food sources, this is definitely helpful and beneficial for our development of our nervous system, as you know, it does support the growing mind and the nervous system, the omega-3s. You guys can see there the different sources where you get your omega-3s, your EPAs and DHAs, your omega-6s. There needs to be a balance of omega-6s. Too much of the omega-6s can cause that inflammation in the body, which we don't want to. We want more omega-3s and omega-6s and GLAs as well. Just some sources there to help with inflammation as well too in the body. And then the consumption of these essential fatty acids does help with physical activity, reduce the risk of allergies, asthma, eczema, and infections. Trans fats, as I discussed earlier, a little bit earlier in the program, a little bit earlier in the presentation, those are chemically made fats that are typically found in processed foods, fast foods, and your body doesn't really know what to do with those. It puts a taxing, an unnecessary tax on the digestive system, the liver, and the rest of the body. Is trying to figure out how to digest it and get rid of it. And if your body doesn't have those detoxification systems operating the right way, then those fats can be stored into other fat cells and lead to diseases later on in life. Linked to obesity as well too. So making sure to avoid those trans fats. Nutrition for children, carbohydrates. Carbohydrates are interesting for children growing up, specifically because it has to do with your amount of energy that you're putting out and how active you are as well. And carbohydrates are necessary to fuel the cells for growing children, play a big part. You'll find different information, specifically if your child is really active, and an athlete, up to 60 to 70% of your carbohydrates should be consumed as your daily meals if you are an athlete, an active kid. But just kind of reading off the slide here, carbohydrates should make up about 1/4 to 1/3 of each meal. Whole food sources, always the best way to go. Whole grains, vegetables, beans, lentils, and fruits. Simple carbohydrates and sugars should be limited in your child's diets, and those things, as I mentioned earlier in the presentation, which would be your refined carbohydrates, like candies, fast foods. Those things are going to have those simple carbohydrates, white breads, white pastas. Trying to avoid those things. Sodas, those soft drinks, iced teas, fruit juices that aren't natural. These can cause blood sugar imbalances, and they are the biggest contributor to childhood obesity and diabetes. Sugar has also been linked to anxiety, ADHD, depression, eating disorders, fatigue, and learning difficulties. As a former teacher, I would always, every week, go to my principal and send a message to our superintendent and say, hey, you are feeding these kids fried funnel cake for breakfast with powdered sugar all over on top. I would tell them it's not a healthy breakfast. There's nothing nutritious about that. And then you expect the kids to sit down and learn a math lesson all day. There's nothing that makes sense. And every kid will walk in the door and get one of these things. I was a huge advocate for children's nutrition when I was a teacher, still am as well. But it does go to show you how a little bit what is being taught in schools and then what they're actually being given in the actual school system. I know that they consider pizza to be a source of their grains, protein, and fat, as well as vegetable too, because they have tomato sauce. But they were just grabbing these frozen pizzas and throwing them in. So if you can't tell, I'm a little on edge about talking about my old habits of being a teacher. And then overview for fiber. Fiber containing complex carbohydrates are important. It slows glucose absorption. It's necessary for the GI tract health, prevents rapid blood sugar spikes. And those things include whole grain, beans, lentils, vegetables, included for healthy carbohydrates and fiber. It's important for healthy digestion and elimination, and it feeds the healthy bacteria in the gut as well. And a healthy microbiome is important for a child's development too. Food combination, which it can be difficult because trying to get everything in at once or everything in a well-balanced meal can be difficult. So serving seeds, nuts, and butters with fruits, add seeds or nuts to breakfast cereals and oatmeal. And then cereals is definitely a controversial topic. The cereal aisle, going down natural cereal aisle in like a regular food store, you'll see like Cheerios, Fruit Loops. Those things are not cereals. It's literally just sugar in a bag. If you go to health food stores, you'll start to see a little bit healthier options where more things are being made with whole grains. I just bought a cereal the other day that has flax seeds, chia seeds in there, some whole grain, actually nuts and legumes that were in there as well too. It was pretty good, pretty delicious. And oatmeal, they're getting better with that as well too. Serving salmon with chicken or lentils and brown rice, it's always a great pair. Adding kidney beans and ground meat to pasta sauce is a good option as well. Cottage cheese on oatcakes, hummus with rye bread or vegetables, always a good combination there. Hydration is extremely important as we are mostly water, and it's good to keep that water in you, keep hydrated, because all of our cellular functions require water. Drinking plenty of water is helpful for removal of waste and microbial health. Consuming 8 ounces of glasses equal to their age daily is a good way to start off with water. Always making sure it's come from a clean source, not just putting on the faucets and drinking that from there, because there's all kinds of chemicals, added chemicals. Even though it does get filtered, there could be traces of antibiotics that have been in there as well too. And then the pipes aren't always clean, so always making sure that it comes from a healthy filtered source. One that I like to use is called a zero water filter. That seems to be pretty good, and it comes with actually measuring the pH of it and checking out the quality as well. Highly active children need to increase this number a little bit because, like I said, the more active you are, the more energy you're going to acquire, the more hydration you're going to acquire. And then speaking of antibiotics, sometimes antibiotics usage may be necessary at some point to fight infections, but that does kill the good bacteria in our guts, which actually promotes the immune system, which promotes good digestion. So keeping that healthy gut flora is important after having a healthy biotic, after taking an antibiotic. Conservative use of antibiotics is recommended as long as you're getting those well-balanced, healthy foods in you, kind of exposing yourself to the outside, getting those hands in the dirt, exposure to other kids as well will boost your immune system, which can support not having to go on antibiotics. Sometimes it's absolutely necessary. Anyone put on antibiotics should follow treatment with a broad spectrum of probiotics to repopulate a healthy gut flora, including getting some fermented food in me as well, whether it be sauerkrauts, some yogurts. They even have a fermented coconut yogurt as well too, which is really good. So just continued, children will crave whatever they are exposed to. So making healthy choices early on helps lifelong healthy eating habits. A story I like to share with everybody is my niece. She was probably less than a year old, and my sister was holding her, and my mom gave her a lollipop, and she had one lick, and my mom took it away, and her eyes lit up, and she kept reaching for the lollipop. It was immediately she was addicted to that lollipop, to the sugar that was in that lollipop. And that just kind of wow, that was a crazy experience to have and actually just see my niece never having that kind of sugar, and then having it and then reaching for it like it was almost like a drug. And said before, sugar, how it impacts the brain is very similar to how cocaine impacts the brain as well too. The same areas of the brain light up when you have sugar as when someone who takes cocaine. So I found that very interesting. So those same addiction habits are there. And it's never too late to make changes. And if you feel like things might be too far gone, they never are. It's good to just kind of take slow, steady changes. Nothing has to be done completely overnight. Sometimes we do things too fast, and we revolt, the body revolts, and other people revolt. So making those slow changes could be very beneficial. Meal planning. I know, I don't have any kids myself, but meal planning for a family can definitely be difficult. The people I talk to express time constraints as a reason for not making healthy breakfasts. Smoothies can be a great fast option and an easy way to load a child with adequate protein. I know Purium has a few great shakes that actually provide all of that for you as well. I think it's there's the Power Shake that has a lot. There's the kids, I think it's called Epi Family now as well too. That provides great nutritional support, a great, quick, fast breakfast. And breakfast is an important meal for kids to establish good eating habits, sets up for a lifelong routine that helps maintain healthy blood sugar levels throughout the day. Optimally should be high in protein and healthy fats, and those shakes from Purium do have that as well too. And then, some things to support shakes. If you do like to consume meat, organic, grass-fed whey, protein's the best. And you can have some pea, hemp, chia, cranberry, rice powders, non-dairy options as well too. Some healthy add-ons, which is a great way to get things in, even though it does sometimes change up the enzyme composition. Frozen berries, bananas, fruits, those things help. Adding avocados, coconut oil, whole milk if you drink milk. Spirulina, blue-green algae, seeds, wheatgrass are great add-ons to a shake, and it's a great way to consume them. A little bit easier digestible as well too, and disguises some of the flavor that kids might be opposed to. Meal planning for lunches. Lunches ideas for parents right here. Whoops, misspelled. Meat sandwiches, not cold cuts. They have added things in there. If you're going to do meats, make sure it is maybe cooked from the night before, if possible. Whether it be chicken, meat, and some veggies on the side. Salads are always a great idea. Thermos with hot soups or chilies. Even like a homemade Lunchables as well. Coming up with healthy lunches to pack for any age can be challenging. Sometimes that's the best way to. Sometimes a great way to help with this is taking your kids to the actual food store and kind of guiding them, be like, hey, what do you want for lunch this week? And then kind of guide them towards a bit of healthy options so they have a little bit of say in what they're having for lunch. And for parents, it does need to be quick, appealing, tastes good, easy to eat for you, so not too much stress on you. For dinners, preparing meals for the whole family and eating dinner together is a great way to develop healthy eating habits. Great way to introduce new foods, to get your kids actually involved in the kitchen to help cooking. That's always a great way as well too. And then it's a great way to just take less stress off you as well too, and have family time. That whole person approach that I mentioned early on, that social aspect, being together. If you're a big believer in energy and frequency, just having the people there at the table is a great way to support overall health as well too. And then 80-20 rule, I know it's a great rule for anybody to follow. Visiting friends, vacations, etc. Follow that 80-20 rule. 80% of the time, eating the good stuff. 20% of the time, having that wiggle room. And just something to note as well too, don't make a big issue of forbidden foods. It does enhance their appeal. It's like somebody telling you no, don't do something. You're like, well, now I want to do it more. I don't know if anybody can relate to that, but sometimes I can. Communication is key as well too. Talk to kids about why nutrition is important. The basic information, it's great for better mood, better hair, better skin, athletic performance, to feel good, to look good. Just providing them the information that they might need in that time. Just kind of summarizing things. Establishing healthy eating habits in children creates a foundation for lifelong health. Encourage children to eat a variety of whole foods. Only make the foods available that you want your child to eat. Lead by example, which can be sometimes hard to do in a quick, fast-paced world. But most of kids want to do what their parents do, which is pretty awesome. Be creative, teach children to enjoy foods, and develop lifelong healthy eating habits, and make it fun. It always has to be fun. And this is where I got most of the information from, and just from my personal experience as well too. The school I went to, Nutrition Therapy Institutes, a couple of great books, The Healing, The New Child Epidemics of Autism, ADHD, Asthma, and Allergies, fantastic read. A Child Health Guide, Holistic Pediatrics for Nutrition, Gut and Psychology Syndrome was great as well too. And actually this is probably my favorite book, and it kind of looks like this. Just one I recently picked up a couple days ago was Your Brain on Food. So that's kind of presentation for kids nutrition. Boom. Anybody have any questions, thoughts, comments, chiming in with anything?
What's the name of that book?
This one is called Gut and Psychology Syndrome. So how the gut impacts our psychology.
Cool. Thank you.
Absolutely. Questions, comments? What's been your experiences with raising kids and their nutrition?
So much different when my kids were growing up compared to now. So there's more information out. And like compared to my children, I felt had a great healthy diet. And I did a lot of the 20% with them. But my granddaughter has a different situation being an only child. She's kind of more forced to eat adult food,
Right.
and it's just harder for her to assimilate into that. So I would consider her a little more of a picky eater. So it's a really good reminder to make it fun. And she does like cooking and she does like juicing. That's one thing that we can get her to do. But it still has to be very simple and basic, like you pointed out, not too many sauces.